Is the Seahawks season over now?
I can't say that the season is over. Everything that I've seen from this football team is they're a total football team, and they give you the total package. Now, we will say that from the right side of the football field, he covers it well, where quarterbacks are completing only 50% of their balls, and they're going to the opposite side. If you ask any former football player or one that truly is embedded in watching football, anytime you have a shutdown corner, the number 2 corner is the one that gets all the reps. And usually, they seem to kind of have the revolving door because that corner just can't seem to cover or shut down on that side. Now it's a total football field, meaning as a quarterback, now it's very balanced. I can go to either side versus this Seattle football team. One thing I will say that with this loss of Richard Sherman, it's a bigger loss than losing Earl Thomas. It's a bigger loss than losing Cam Chancellor in the secondary, because you're talking about shutting down one side of the football field. So for me, when I look at this loss for the Seattle Seahawks, now you start to focus a little bit more on the LA Rams of winning that division and being able to assert themselves as the best team in that division. And I will say this, offensively, I'm not pleased from what I'm seeing offensively from the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson seems to be doing a little bit too much for this offense to generate some points. They're not scoring a lot of points each and every week, which they're going to struggle going in and out of games, but at least their front seven will be able to apply pressure. There are 2 key injuries with this football team that I start to look at, and I really wonder how long this will last for the Seattle Seahawks and how far they will go. The Cliff Averill injury is still a major injury that not a lot of people are talking about, even though they've brought in Dwight Freeney to be able to fill the void a little bit. But Dwight's about 37 years old, and you're asking a lot for him, and he's not the same Dwight that we've seen over the years. But now you add the Richard Sherman injury, a lot of questions now go out. They will make the playoffs, but I don't think they go very far.
Yeah, when you say the season's over, I don't really see, in a funny way, it's a huge injury, but in a funny way, I don't see it changing much in the sense that I thought the ceiling for Seattle was getting to the playoffs and maybe winning a game. And I still think they can do that. But is it a big injury? I mean, the whole Legion of Boom is injured. The Legion of Boom, before it became known as the entire defense, you're really talking about the secondary. And Donovan, I respectfully disagree about Sherman being more important than Earl Thomas. We saw what happened last year when Thomas went out. The team fell apart, basically. He's a huge, they look like, are they Super Bowl contenders? Earl Thomas went out, done, right? So Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, I just identified the Legion of Boom by name. They're all hurt. Then you finally bring in a left tackle to spend some resources on your offensive line, which fell apart in that disastrous trade for Jimmy Graham when they got rid of Max Unger. They really haven't been the same since then. You bring in Dwayne Brown, and Brown goes down with an injury. You finally address the offensive line for like a week. He goes down with an injury. They can't run the ball. This is a team where, because Russell Wilson is great, because the defense, we'll see if it still can be great. You bring up the Averill injury, too. That's a huge absence, really under-discussed absence. But if the defense can kind of hold it together with a great coach and a great quarterback, you can make the playoffs, maybe win a game. But without a running game, with the secondary really compromised, and with Russell Wilson having to do it all by himself, he and Doug Baldwin, who's outstanding, by the way. I know Baldwin's not Julio Jones or Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham Jr., but he's like 1A. He is just about as good as it gets. Those 2 guys can't do it all by themselves, but they're being forced to. So is their season over? Well, it'll end before the Super Bowl, that's for sure, but it was probably true before the Sherman injury.